Welcome back, everyone, to part 133 of our IPDRG Masterclass Explainer. Okay, so in our last session, part 132, we really took a deep dive into mastering code assignment errors and those incredibly frustrating ungroupable DRGs, specifically MS-DRGs 998 and 999, right? We also broke down the invalid code defense. Well, today, we are taking a massive step forward into the actual financial heartbeat of the hospital. We're talking about advanced revenue cycle and CDI integration, and we are going to focus heavily on case mix index optimization and MS-DRG financial analytics. But real quick, before we get into the heavy analytics today, I just have to say, if you are enjoying this lesson, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel and share it with friends for this free course on Decode Healthcare with Harshal. Your support is literally what keeps this entire series running, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button for us. All right, here is our roadmap for today. We've got 4 main stops. First, unpacking the case mix index. Second, RCM and CDI synergies. Third, advanced financial analytics. And finally, a quick summary and a teaser for our next lesson. Let's dive right into section 1, unpacking the case mix index. So what exactly is the case mix index, or CMI, and why does your finance team obsess over it? By definition, it's the average of all DRG relative weights assigned to a hospital's discharges over a specific time frame. You can basically think of CMI as the ultimate proxy for your facility's patient acuity. A higher CMI, that tells the world your hospital is treating more complex, resource-intensive patients. If you're performing complex surgeries or treating severe systemic infections, your CMI should absolutely reflect that. If it's artificially low, well, it means your clinical documentation is completely failing to capture the true severity of the patients you're treating. Now, to truly understand why this matters so much, we have to look at the core math of the inpatient perspective payment system. It's actually a pretty simple formula. Hospital payment equals your base rate multiplied by the DRG relative weight. The base rate is just a fixed dollar amount set by CMS, which varies by your hospital, region, and teaching status. But the relative weight, that reflects the resource intensity of that specific DRG. So let's say your hospital's base rate is $6,000 and a patient's DRG relative weight is 1.3. Your payment is $7,800. That relative weight is the one variable that your coding and CDI teams can directly influence. And here is the absolutely crucial point. You might be thinking, what's a tiny fractional shift really worth? Well, a shift of just 0.05 or 0.10 in your overall case mix index across thousands of annual discharges doesn't just mean a few extra dollars. We are literally talking about millions of dollars in facility-based rate Medicare and commercial reimbursement. A drop in CMI essentially signals to payers that your hospital is less complex than it actually is, and that leads directly to severe financial instability. Moving right along to Section 2, RCM and CDI synergies. Within this whole revenue cycle ecosystem, clinical documentation improvement acts as your ultimate revenue integrity driver. But we have to draw a really hard line here. There is a massive, incredibly important difference between ethical optimization and upcoding. Ethical optimization is when your CDI specialist queries a physician to clarify a vague diagnosis. Like turning a generic CHF into acute on chronic systolic heart failure. That simply ensures the hospital is compensated for the true severity of the care provided. Upcoding, on the other hand, that's assigning a higher paying code that the clinical documentation simply doesn't support. Upcoding is straight up fraud under the False Claims Act, and it triggers severe penalties. Our goal is always strictly ethical optimization. And this ethical optimization directly impacts how we manage length of stay, or LOS. Every single DRG has an expected length of stay. If a patient is sitting in a bed for 10 days, but they're only coded for a simple pneumonia without any complications, the payer is absolutely going to question the medical necessity of those extra days. Capturing the right complications and comorbidities, your CCs and MCCs, increases that severity score, properly justifying extended treatment times. Accurate coding aligns your length of stay analytics with expected resources. It basically prevents those unnecessary excess days from silently eroding your hospital's profit margins. All right, let's transition to Section 3, Advanced Financial Analytics. So how do we actually prove this financial value? Every CDI team must track these 4 fundamental KPIs. First up, query volume, which we track by clinical specialty to pinpoint exactly where our documentation gaps are happening. Second is response rate and turnaround time. This essentially measures physician engagement. Third is the direct financial impact, where we calculate the actual hard dollars recovered through clarification. And finally, the CMI change. tracking the actual shift in patient acuity scores after CDI intervention. These metrics are the vital bridge between clinical care and the finance department. Let's actually apply those analytics to financial risk mitigation in our high-weight DRGs. Take sepsis, for example. It is a classic high-volume, high-weight condition. DRG 871 is septicemia with a major complication or comorbidity, an MCC. That yields maximum reimbursement. But if just one single MCC drops off that claim because of poor documentation, it immediately downgrades to DRG 872, septicemia without CC/MCC. The relative weight absolutely plummets, and the hospital loses a massive amount of revenue for providing the exact same patient care. And these claims become incredibly vulnerable when we factor in present on admission rules, or POA rules. Think about it. If a patient is admitted for one issue and sepsis develops 2 days later, the POA indicator becomes N for not present on admission. Because of this, CMS simply will not allow that condition to count as an MSC to increase the DRG payment. Instead, you're looking at a quality review and a non-payment penalty for a hospital-acquired condition. This right here is why pre-bill reviews for high-vulnerability DRGs are absolutely non-negotiable. Let's wrap things up with Section 4, summary, and a quick teaser for what's next. Here are your core takeaways from today's explainer. First, CMI math is the engine of hospital revenue. It completely drives the base rate multipliers for every single claim. Second, CDI synergies act as a shield, stopping massive revenue leakage through clear, concurrent documentation. Third, a strict policy of ethical optimization is always your absolute best defense against payer audits. And finally, those high-weight DRG pairs like sepsis or heart failure, they require rigorous pre-bill review buffers to protect against devastating clawbacks. Because let me tell you, if you don't secure your revenue integrity up front, the payers certainly aren't going to do it for you. In Part 134 of this series, we are going to tackle exactly how to defend every single claim against RAC, MAC, and commercial DRG downgrades. We're dedicating the entire next lesson to payer denials and aggressive audit defense mechanics. You definitely don't want to miss it. And as always, if you are enjoying this lesson, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel and share it with friends for this free course on Decode Healthcare with Harshal. Thank you so much for your focus and energy today. Until next time, I want you to ask yourself, is your hospital leaving millions on the table simply because of a single missing word in a patient's chart? See you in the next one.